Hey, everybody. Happy Wednesday. We are back, week number 2 of David Caruso Live. Thanks again for joining us. I hope everybody had a really fun Memorial Day weekend, and we're starting to feel some summer weather here in Milwaukee, which we are all so happy about, I'm sure. Good to see you, Jessica Jacobs, Cindy McLeod. Good to see you, Cindy Rosenberg. So happy you guys are already on, and so many others are starting to join. So before I jump into today's conversation, which I've been excited about ever since we started last week, I just wanted to give a quick shout out and say thank you so much. I have received lots of great comments and feedback, emails, Facebook messages. I really, really, really appreciate it. And I'm glad that we're all having fun together, because the point of these conversations was exactly that, to highlight some great people and businesses in our community and industries that are really lifting us all up and making sure we have things to look forward to. So thank you so much for all of the great comments. Keep them coming. And one thing I wanted to say is, who do you want to hear from? Because I'm happy to reach out and ask. I'd love to learn about some of your favorite people and who you think would be a great conversation on David Caruso Live. So make a comment and let me know. Also, don't forget to like and share this broadcast so more of our friends and colleagues can join us today. So let's get started with week 2, first conversation of David Caruso Live on this Wednesday. I am so excited to introduce all of you, and for those of you, many that already know him, I really am excited about my friend Gary Witt, who is the CEO and co-owner of the Pabst Theater Group. You know, the Pabst Theater Group, especially here in Wisconsin and Milwaukee, is so well known for all of their magnificent venues, including the Pabst, Riverside, Turner Hall Ballroom, the Back Room at Colectivo, the Tavern at Turner Hall. Amazing, amazing places. So let's bring in my friend Gary Witt to DC Live. We cannot wait for this conversation. Gary, how are you?
Well, given the circumstances, we're doing very, very well. Thank you, Dave. It's really wonderful to have me on. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I'm really glad you're here today. And we have so many great things to talk about. And I really just want to start out by saying, for so many, many years, since especially I've had my business here, you know, I have always so admired everything that you and your colleagues and organization do for our city and beyond. And some of what you're doing now that just has such a broad reach, I'm really excited to talk about with our viewers today. But thanks for everything you do. Thanks for saying yes and being here. And I'm super excited. But let's get started.
Thank you first, though, because what we do is very much parallel. Our businesses are very close to the same, and we both are in the business of making Milwaukee active and keeping it alive. So thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's all about teamwork. So here's the thing, and I'm really interested in this myself because, you know, from what I know about you really is about, you know, this part of your world, but I'm sure there's more to Gary Witt. And really, I'm curious, in a nutshell, what's a quick little snippet of your background and how you came into this part of your career?
So the condensed version is that from second grade, I was a drummer and was infatuated with, you know, music, and it's probably is a thing that kept me, I don't know, it probably shaped my life more than anything else. I met my beautiful wife Susan, and was able to get what was my first job in the record business, which was the least glamorous job in the world. I was going to Kmart stores and moving their records back in the days when they had vinyl and scanning them with a barcode scanner. So it was definitely not glamorous, but it led to me eventually becoming the buyer of the company. And then after that, my first entry into the real record business, where I began, and I worked, about 20 years or 22 years in total in the record business, which was a great journey because it was exactly what I wanted to do with my life. And I think that we saw the end of it we saw the business itself kind of destroying itself over the years. And I was working with different artists and kind of helping them, branding them, and helping manage them. One day, some guy in Milwaukee called me out of the middle of nowhere. I still remember the day when I was sitting there and I entered into my address book. This guy named Michael Cudahy called me and said that he wanted to book this artist that I was managing and assisting with at the time at a private party that he does at his house. So we started talking for a while, and as you know, Mike would normally do, he started talking about a lot of different things. One of the things he talked about, I remember his exact words, is he said, "I just bought this theater for $1 and I have no idea what to do with it." So
Wow.
that actually became me coming to Milwaukee. And I remember the very moment of coming to Milwaukee, driving downtown, getting off the highway, seeing what then was the rebuilt Milwaukee Theater. And I was thinking to myself, why does he want to bring the Pabst Theater to life? They're building a brand new theater downtown. Why would they do that? And then I met Mike, and I met Kevin Lindsay, his partner, and I spent 6 hours with Mike that day. And I visited the Pabst Theater, and it was obviously beautiful. I'd been there previously with an artist named Arturo Sandoval, trumpet player. And I remember that the basement was horrible. The theater was beautiful, but the basement was like a basement. It was bad. So instead of headhunting for him and helping to try to find someone to run it, I thought to myself, anyone that I would choose to run it is going to turn this into a performing arts center. And you're going to be seeing all kinds of performing arts type of shows happening here. And at that moment in time, there was nothing happening in Milwaukee that would be a consistent entertainment scene of music and comedy and entertainment in the city. So we made the decision to move to Milwaukee and take it over ourselves. And, that evolved over time. I think that it was, I'd like to, you always often, as I'm sure you do for your business, you romanticize about the past of remember when we were just doing this. And look, I remember when we first started, and my theory when I first came to Milwaukee was always that there was an upside of down, because the theater at the time could not be any lower than what it really was. There were thoughts about the city of demolishing it, maybe moving City Hall across the street. The city was losing $1 million, $1.5 million annually on it. I couldn't do much worse than with what they did. But the great news is that it evolved into becoming something so much bigger, maybe more so because of the need for it that had not been fulfilled, but then also because we began to gain, in market share. We picked up the Riverside Theater at that time because the Riverside also was closed at that time in 2005. So 2002, I came to Milwaukee. 2005, we took over the Riverside, and that gave us market share to be able to do bigger and even better things in the city. I think that what set us apart in our business is that our goal wasn't really just to sell tickets. Our goal was to develop community. So we took upon ourselves the idea that we weren't just going to book shows. We weren't just going to sell tickets, but we were going to develop this database, this community of people, and we wanted to treat them to an experience that was different. And then we also wanted to treat the artist to an experience that was different. So we built a kitchen backstage, a professional kitchen. We hired an executive chef in Kevin Sloan. And now backstage, we're known throughout the industry as having an executive chef, a sous chef, a pastry chef, and a barista backstage for all of our shows. So artists, they travel. It's become such a small part of the business that is treated with such little care about how you take care of artists backstage. But I've always remembered that we're Milwaukee. We've got to work harder to make artists want to come here. So we spent the money. I remember it was big, talking to my controller at the time. We spent $80,000 to run a gas line up the side of the building in the Riverside and put a range hood in there. So that was a lot of money to spend on something that would never generate any revenue. So, but it honestly worked because artists love coming there. We love hosting them. At the Riverside, there's 1,000 pieces of vinyl with the turntable, along with the barista. The Pabst has about 500 pieces of vinyl. So we evolved in the business that we were in, and we were fortunate to be able to grow and to be also to take over Turner Hall. Again, another room that was actually closed and was out of business for over 60 years. So every time we went someplace, we seemed to go someplace and find a need that needed to be fulfilled, and it was a good fit for us to do it. But it was also, I think, a good fit for Milwaukee at that time, because I think we were able to do things with our database. I remember when the streetcar was in, there was, the big questions about the streetcar, and it seemingly was going to become just a backroom political decision. We simply posted it to our email addresses and to our social media, and asked them to participate in the conversation. We didn't say yes for the streetcar, no for the streetcar. We said, look, be included. Like, this is downtown. We want downtown to be what you want it to be.
Right.
And people flooded, City Hall and the room where they were actually holding the meeting. And honestly, I think it frightened our politicians a little bit. I've learned over the years. If there's one thing that creates two different reactions from politicians, it's a database, and the database community creates fear in one way and maybe a little bit of like awe in the other, because they'd all like to have something like that, because that's what helps you
Yeah.
get elected or whatever. So I think we were helpful in trying to bring that awareness to the city. We've always treated our database as something more than just selling tickets. We want it to be an ongoing conversation. We want to be able to have an editorial content where we actually can speak to people, educate them, make them a little bit smarter, and hopefully learn more about the music and comedy and the things that we're doing, and also more about the good things that are happening in our city, whether it's the county parks, whether it's the zoo, whatever it is, whether it's the MSO or something that's happening in the art museum downtown. We want people to be proud of the city that they live in, because that's the investment that we make. Our entire investment is in the city of Milwaukee. So as I was
Yeah.
saying, we took over Turner Hall, and it was a great experience. We had this flat room floor, unlike our reserve seated rooms. It was, again, a wonderful experience. It's almost like an old New Orleans room that has all this soul and kind of beauty to it. When the lights, it looks a little strange in the daytime, as you know, but when the lights go down, your eye and the camera eye loves that room. It just has so much beauty to it. So one of the issues we came up with at Turner Hall, though, was that we were, we were looking at the room, and we didn't really know what to do with it during the months of June, July, August, and September, because everybody in Milwaukee loves to be able to be outside during those months. So we had a problem. We had this room, but we really weren't going to book that many shows during that time period. So we made a plan at that time to say that we wanted to get in the private events business. Especially, we wanted to be able to hold weddings in that beautiful room that, it wasn't the Pfister. I mean, Turner is not,
Right.
it's the anti-Pfister in a way, but we, of course, didn't really know how to get into that business. And we were very, very
Right.
fortunate at that time when we hired Anne to come in and actually take over that business for us. And she, Anne really created the business of private events for us, and really is the soul and identity of our private events business. And as well as anybody that you have to have someone that you could trust, and someone that hangs out for the 20 hours of the entire event. And Anne is definitely that person. I'm very proud of the work that she's
Absolutely.
done.
Absolutely. This is what's so great about today. You had a great suggestion. You're like, can we talk to Anne too? So we're going to bring Anne in just a few seconds, but that is
Good.
definitely quite the journey. And it definitely is about the spirit of hospitality. Like you were saying, it makes it something that is very different, even backstage at the venues that you run. And I, like you said, from the artists and people that have worked there, it definitely shines through as a unique feature to the Pabst Riverside group, or the Pabst group. So Anne, yes, I love her too, Gary. She's such a great lady, and very important to our industry. So I'm excited that she's here with us today, and she is going to be joining us. There she is. How are you, Anne?
Hi, David.
Yay. I'm
David,
so happy.
I don't know if you knew this, but the very first wedding that I ever worked on my own at Turner Hall was a wedding that you did. And I feel like
lucky you.
It was Amy Johnson's wedding, and it was the first time I was working a solo wedding at Turner Hall, and I feel like I learned a lot from you that day. So thank you.
Oh man, that's so cool. We've had some great times together. I've loved everyone. So I'm glad that you're doing well. It's nice to see you at home. And this is great to have all of us together for this conversation about how the Pabst Theater Group is, working during this time, and some of the things we have to look forward to. But maybe, Gary, just to start, do you mind? It's probably going to be a short one, but what's kind of the current status of what's happening in the venues?
Well, the current status is that in response to the pandemic, one of the first things that we did is we worked with other venues in America to create something called NIVA, which is the National Independent Venue Association. That was critical to what we what we would see as our potential for survival, and that we needed to make sure that we had a voice in the next round of what was happening with the CARES Act. So we formed this group on Easter weekend with around 137 venues and promoters in it, and now we're close to 2,000. So we've hired a large lobbying firm to come in named Aiken Gump. They've been wonderful for us to work with, just wonderful for us to work with, and I think we're really making strides. I would tell you that, as I mentioned earlier, the basis of our business is our database and our community, the people who trust us with our shows. The comparable here is that the restaurant industry is similar to us. They're doing the same things in DC. What happened is that the restaurant industry asked their restaurants around the country, and they asked their customers to send letters to Congress. They were able to send, in 1 week's time, 5 days, they got 55,000 letters sent to Congress, which is amazing. It's amazing. But never underestimate the power of promoters in the entertainment business, because when we do what we do, which is basically every show you get, you kind of go to war with every show, and you've got to win that war. We were in five days time, we were able to send 500,000 letters to Congress, and it really moved the needle. You know, we were new to DC and new to having that conversation, so it was really important. But look, it's important, I think, for all of us as we approach how we look at funding from our government in this next CARES Act, to make sure that we get it right this time, and hopefully, ensure that all these independent businesses like yours, like ours, can survive, because it's going to be there'll be a tough road. So what do we have happening?
Yeah.
We've moved towards we first of all, we think this is almost, in a way, it's like you're in a car accident and you're paralyzed, and you really have to relearn how to talk and how to crawl again, and how to walk and how to run. So the beginning stages of that really for us are, we created a lot of merch to be able to sell to our customers, to be able to show them a little bit of Pabst Theater Group pride. And that actually helps to support us and keep us in business. So it's important for us. If people are out there wearing those shirts or hats or even the masks, whatever it is, they're not up to your style standards, I don't think, but close.
Hey, I've got some good merch here, actually. I was going to show this later, but I've got it. I think it's super
there
stylish.
you go. There you go.
Super stylish. This is the hoodie.
Yeah.
I love this. We're going to show some other merch later. Now, Anne, I want to ask, and Gary, we're going to give people some more information about NIVA too, and how to take some action with you in a little bit. But Anne, tell me from your perspective, being so in tune with special events and private events at the venues, what have you seen besides people having to cancel or postpone? What are you expecting to see? Maybe a little bit different, or when are you anticipating some private events taking place again?
I think a lot of things in the wedding industry and the private event industry are going to change after this for sure. I'm looking forward to when we can get back to hosting quote unquote normal events. Maybe that's this fall, maybe it's not until 2021. It's hard to say. I think we're going to host some weddings this year. They might look a little bit different. They might be a little bit smaller, but we're going to continue on and continue to host events this year that we're excited to do. So in the meantime, it's really exciting to see a lot of industry friends kind of coming up with all of these really great ideas to, allow people to get married, maybe in not the way that they had initially planned, but in other fun, creative ways where they can still celebrate and have their special day in some sort of capacity. So,
yeah, this is a great photo from Turner. A wedding there, and Gary was explaining a little bit earlier about how that's such a cool raw space. I mean, it's so unique, and I think people really just love it. And there's so many different things that you do there. This is another great example, actually something we did together, but fashion shows and concerts, weddings, other private events, lots of city things happen there too. But it's such a cool spot, and I know that people are excited to be back there for events too. And Anne, so many people are excited to see you in the comments.
I've got a lot of frienders.
I love that.
Wedding vendor
Debbie,
friends.
Britt, Jessica, everyone's saying a shout out to Anne, which is so cool.
Now, I paid them to come in and say good things, David.
I also wanted to check in about the elopement packages. Is that something that you've been working on? I thought this was so cool. Tell us a little bit about that.
We're really excited. In the meantime, it's hard a lot of times to do some sort of weddings or smaller scale private events in the theaters because we're doing these large scale concerts and, you know, we have to have those coming through the building. So now that we're not able to do concerts how we normally are, it's nice to be able to have the space to do some of these smaller functions that it normally isn't available for. So the elopements we're really excited about. It's essentially a very scaled down version of using the space. The space is so gorgeous on its own. All three, the Pabst, Riverside, and Turner, are available. So you can essentially just come in, use the space for 3 hours, and bring 10 of your closest friends and family and get married. And it can be on the day that you were supposed to get married. We've actually had people reach out to us who have been saying, you know, we've been together for 20 years and we just thought maybe we'll get married and maybe we'll do it at the Pabst Theater. So whether it's because your wedding has been affected by the pandemic or you just want to get married in a fun, unique way, this is an exciting thing that we're really happy about being able to offer to people.
Yeah, I was so happy to see you guys post that. I thought it was clever and perfect and really, you know, definitely needed. I can't wait to see some of those happening. Of course, you know, I couldn't go by without giving you and Gary and the team there a shout out for me who wanted to get married at the Pabst.
I was going to say, you know all about how cool it is to get married at the Pabst Theater.
I do. And where are we? Here we are. So the thing that's so cool about the Pabst Theater is not only did Adam and I get married there, but that it's just for so many different things. It's so beautiful. Gary, what's one of your favorite things that you've witnessed at the Pabst?
Besides you and Adam rising on the stage on the hydraulic lift and the chandeliers dropping. That's a first, I think, by the way. Boy, there's so many things. It's very hard to say. I mean, there have been, I mean, you know, honestly, the best thing I've seen at the Pabst, and this is an odd choice, but it's really the development of our team. I mean, that, you know, we do a lot of shows and I love the shows that we do. I love the artists, the comedians. But it's really, when you get down to it, running and operating a business, as you know, it's the development of the team. It's the fact that everybody pulls at the same level and everyone tries to overachieve and contribute. So yeah.
That's awesome. Now, Anne, you said that you currently still have some weddings on the calendar for July. Gary, do we have any insight about any shows? We're going to talk about Revive MKE, but what any live shows that you are having some kind of a timeline expectation of at all, or simply not even estimate right now?
Well, it's difficult to say anything for sure, but I think, you know, the one thing we're looking at is that we, you know, as we move forward in the months, going through the month of May, of course, we're still reviewing what we have in June and July. Many shows have already moved, you know, that didn't want to take the chance on waiting. You know, sometimes wholesale, you've had, you know, weeks where you just had shows move from, you know, first early 2020 to late 2020, and now they're mid 2021, and some have moved again to October. So it's quite a haul. But you know, we keep smaller shows on the books as we await, because we do think that the first things that will happen will likely be some of the smaller shows first. So we're holding off on those to see what direction it goes. And if we follow the restaurant industry in any way, I would suggest that there's a possibility that just as in restaurants, that you'd possibly be seeing, you know, some outdoor things. I think that might be the potential. So, and while I don't know if they'll be the size of, you know, Summerfest, et cetera, because that's difficult to do of that size. Right. I think outdoor shows have a possibility. And, you know, I'm rooting for Summerfest to be able to find a way to recreate what they do this year. I'm actually a little bit jealous of them, because I like to take anything that's been done the same way for 50 years and just blow it up completely and do it different. I think it's a great opportunity for them to be able to do that.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things too is I definitely have sensed kind of this spirit of people rooting for each other, and I think that is definitely in so many ways, hopefully, one of the lasting effects of what we've all been through. So I agree. You know, it's nice to hear that you're rooting for Summerfest and others, because the idea of making sure we can continue some of those things is super important. And I love your thought about some other outdoor events too. So we'll be keeping up on that. And one more question. What do you, how have you been dealing with kind of this giant puzzle piece of people moving and shifting around?
It's been interesting, you know, having just gotten married myself last year, and you just got married. You know how sensitive of a time it is for people. So I'm really just trying my best to make sure that I'm reaching out to everyone that was planning to get married with us this year, and just helping them navigate what it's going to look like, and you know, postponing and not canceling, and or offering them the elopement option. Just trying to figure out some way to make sure that they can still celebrate this year. So it's been challenging, and my heart goes out to everyone that's, you know, had an event planned this year, but we're going to have the event, and it's going to be fun, and it will hopefully be even better than they imagined in the first place. So
Yeah, that's great. And I know somebody like you helping them through the process is a huge blessing. What are there things that you are currently thinking about that will need to be different? Or are you putting some procedures and new policies in place, or are you still kind of waiting for more information?
I think definitely still waiting for more information, but looking ahead to the future, I think that outdoor weddings, just having more space, more open air is definitely going to be something that people are going to be looking for. So, given that we do have three large indoor theaters, maybe trying to find some ways where we can transition some spaces around our buildings to potentially have celebrations. And it's exciting to see what's going on all throughout the United States, and ways that people have had their weddings in amidst all of this. I saw one the other day that was on the roof of a parking garage, and I thought it was really cool. So maybe, you know, maybe that's what weddings are going to look like, and that's okay. They're going to be different, and they're going to be fun.
This is the best of
Well,
who we are, though, right? Because we as people, we have this adversity, but then we find ways to adapt and change. I mean, I think about that about downtown overall. When jobs go away that are at the corporate sector of large corporations, we all then have the growth of the service industry in the city of Milwaukee. And because of the service industry, you now have all the employment downtown. And I think that that's us as a city adapting, where younger people, instead of going off to work at a large corporation, now instead they're going to be going to be a barista, or they're going to go work, you know, they'll be a sous chef, or they'll be a bartender. And those are just as if you were in Europe, those are valid jobs to, you know, to have in your life.
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I wanted to talk quickly too with you guys about the green room. We kind of mentioned some of the merchandise, which is great. And people can definitely visit pabsttheater.org to check out the green room and some of the things that are happening there. I have some more of the merch, the koozie, right?
Yeah, yeah.
It's so
Yes, sir.
cool. There's I didn't have time to take a picture yet of Dolly with her bandana, but the bandana is going on Miss Dolly Levi after this broadcast.
Beautiful, beautiful.
But super cool things, t-shirts, the cool onesies for babies that I love, baseball tees, sticker packs, face masks, of course, joggers. So definitely check that out, everybody that's watching. I really think that stuff is super fun. And then Thirsty Thursday and Food Fridays, you have going on with Executive Chef Kevin and your beverage director, David Armstrong, right? What's that all about?
Well, I think both of those are really exciting because they both have tremendous skill and history in the business. You know, David for his years working in the Bartolotta Group, and Kevin from his, you know, tremendous history of studying in Mexico and other places. He brings so much to what our food is about backstage. It's a chance for people to be able to discover, you know, what it's like, and he could tell these stories about the various meals that he's made for certain artists. And he's super creative, and I will tell you that we're working on something very, very special. I'll give you some insight. We're working on something very, very special now with Kevin, where we're giving some thought towards producing a book, and that'll involve stories of you know, it's so unique and interesting to me because it's not just a book of recipes. It's a book about Kevin and how he comes to create a meal and how it resonates from a place where it originated. You know, one example is that for an artist recently, he was years ago when he was in his 20s, he was in Santa Fe, I think it was, and away from school for the first time in his life. And he had a meal, and during that meal, he had to eat away from home, and people on the reservation invited him to stay there. And one of the mothers there taught Kevin how to make a specific soup. Flash forward 30 years, 25 years later, and Kevin is making that soup for an artist, the Nathaniel Rateliff that we recently had that day. And it's so there's a kind of a beautiful kind of a symmetry there. I think there's a million stories about Kevin that he can write. I think there's also the same thing in David's world. You know, beverages are so fascinating nowadays. We're so far beyond the idea of the simplicity of what it was originally. So I think it's one side of who we are as an organization. And I really thank Sarah and our PR department and Ann and David and Kevin and everyone and Lenora who've worked on that to make it really good, because we are not just selling tickets. We're actually like a living and breathing entity that has a soul and an identity, and that allows it to come out.
It's really cool. I definitely encourage people to check out those things posted on your website. It's super interactive. There's always something new on social media, of course, too. It's been really, really fun to follow. I want to talk a little bit too about Revive Live MKE. Mm-hmm. This is really, really cool. So this is happening. It's your live stream series. Right. All proceeds support your venues and the artist who's performing. Right. Right. And I think the next one coming up is Sarah Evans, right, which is on Friday, this Friday at 7 o'clock.
You know more than me. How is this possible?
Oh, this is so cool. And this is, you can also purchase tickets at pabsttheater.org for this. But yeah. Have you been enjoying this series too, Gary?
I have. You know, the nice thing is that, as you said earlier about the idea of like us all finding ways to come together and find ways to be able to keep ourselves alive. I think it's really important that this streaming has offered us the potential of doing two things. Three things actually. One is for us as an organization, it allows us to have access to revenue because we're not selling any tickets. We've got to keep the mothership alive. We have to keep the business alive. So this helps us. So every ticket that someone buys for one of these streaming events helps us to stay in business. Number two, there's a music community and comedy community that's out there that are missing these things. These things are so important in their lives. This is one way to be able to connect with it. And number three, artists are just like us in this world. They're missing that connection with their artists and their community. And they're also missing the potential to be able to earn a living. This is what they do. And they can't just go in the garage and play for the raccoons in the backyard or something. They've got to get out. So it solves a lot of things, but it's a bridge towards tomorrow, because streaming may exist forever. We all may communicate in this method that we're doing currently. And I like this. I like the opportunity for us to be able to do this. And I like the opportunity to do streaming. I think some piece of that will survive over the years. But yeah. I also think that we all look forward to getting back to live performances.
Yeah, for sure about the live performance. And I did think that when I was seeing this streaming for some of your shows, that this could very potentially be one of those live-on things that comes out of this in addition to the live, which is cool. Okay, I want to tell people quickly how they can also help take action. You mentioned NIVA, which is the National Independent Venue Association. And I just applaud you for all of your work on this. It seems like this happens so fast. I know it never does. There's always so much work and so many people behind it, but watching it develop was awesome. One of the things that I read on their website is just a tidbit of information. And this says venues are forecast to lose up to $8.9 billion of revenue if the rest of 2020 were to remain dark. That is just one of the facts and pieces of information that I think is just a wake-up call for people to understand. So this is all about Save Our Stages, hashtag Save Our Stages. And if people visit NIVA Association, NIVAASSOC.org, they can really participate. How can people get involved, and what do you want the call to action to be?
So they can also, David, go to just saveourstages.com, and it's quite simple to be able to do it, or .org as well. And there is actually a take action section of the website where all they've got to do is log on there. Very, very simply, they have to put their zip code, name and zip code in the location piece, and that will automatically direct them to who their congressperson is and who their senator is. And then you can either send a letter that you'd wish to send to them, or you can just copy the letter that's attached to that or modify that in any way you'd like to. And essentially what we're hoping to do is through this process, we've really understood that what we're trying to do here is we're trying to be able to educate our elected officials as to what our needs are. They have a tremendous job in front of them. They've never, ever really, and at least in my lifetime, had to deal with something at this scope and this level of what is happening. So they need to be informed about what the needs of different industries are. This letter and the senators who are now supporting the work that we're doing, this will help them to identify more what our needs are. And I think it's also aligned very much with a lot of the service industry's needs, and that will help us to get to this next level of the CARES Act. There will only be obviously only one more CARES Act, they think, because that will handle things through the end of December, because that'll be handed off to the next team that comes in, whether it be the president, if that changes, or senators or congressmen will change. So it's really important that this one, which has not been passed yet, that this one gets everyone's attention. If anyone that has a database, anyone that has a following on social media, do everything that you can to try to move them towards that. It's incredibly important for us.
Okay, and give the website one more time.
Sure, it's saveourstages.com.
Okay, perfect. Awesome. Next thing, I know that this is, another one of those nobody knows, it's very uncertain, but I wanted to touch on the DNC here in Milwaukee, something that you've been very involved in since day one, active about, and I think even as of yesterday, on maybe it was WISN or some other news outlet that I heard some further conversation about. But this is now 82 days away, the rescheduled date of the DNC. I know that one of the things that you've been talking about and advocating for is perhaps the possibility of literally postponing the DNC and asking for them to commit to being here in Milwaukee in 2024. Has anything changed? Is that really your overall way of thinking about this still, or what are some of your top level thoughts about what's going on with the DNC and what could happen?
So it's maybe a little bit in the media, been a little bit misrepresented in that I don't want to postpone. I'm not calling to postpone the DNC. I think that's kind of made the mayor trip over the comments overall and others.
Okay.
The goal really is like, look, whatever happens with the DNC, it was originally scheduled to be 50,000 people and to be a $200 million contribution to our economy. It was originally scheduled to take some of the messages and some of the movements that we have in the city, amplify those things, and help us to come to some resolve and make our city a better place through the actions of the DNC being here. That's not going to happen. If anything, at this point in time, and this isn't me talking, this is definitely more the DNC and what we're hearing from everyone nationally, there's going to be a much smaller version of the convention. We will not be getting 50,000 people. We will not be getting $200 million of impact in revenue. Remember the fact that all the hotels that commissioned to be able to get finished and built, the buildings downtown, the people who've invested in infrastructure to change, to support it, people such as you or I who have businesses that are supporting, the actions that take place in private events around the DNC, all those things are there waiting for it. But it's quite possible that, while we're going to have a DNC, it might be only 5,000 people, or it could be 500 people, or it could be 5 people on stage with a very small tripod camera with Joe Biden accepting the nomination. I'd vote for that one because it would be funny. Politics needs some humor today, I think, right? Doesn't it?
It does.
So, what my theory is that, look, I mean, this is just as the DNC was a once in a lifetime event to happen in the city of Milwaukee that could impact us in a positive way, the pandemic is also a once in a lifetime event. When you've seen how others have reacted surrounding that, I would compare it, instead of the mayor comparing it to basketball, maybe because he's tall, he's comparing it to basketball. I don't really know, but it's really comparable more to the Olympics. The Olympics happens once every 4 years. Every country in the world bids for it. They come as close to selling their soul as possible to get it, and somebody gets it. Tokyo got the Summer Olympics. And the Olympics did the right thing. When they had to cancel the Olympics, they said, where are we going to hold it when we have the Olympics next? I know, Tokyo, because Tokyo committed to that and because Tokyo earned it. They spent the money, infrastructure changes were made. Look, when we talk about what should happen now at the DNC, they should be following the Olympics rules and they should choose to, whatever they do at their convention, the truncated version in 20 should take place in Milwaukee. We want to make it the best it could possibly be. We want to impress them with our hospitality, which, as you know, is as good as or better than anyone's. But
Right.
what we need more than anything after we survive this pandemic is to be able to have something to look forward to. For the last 2 years, everyone pinned their hopes on this DNC, and they said, this is the greatest thing to happen to Milwaukee. There's so many weird things surrounding it, and everyone looked the other way, and you just went, this is going to be great. Everyone thought how incredible it was. Now, I think when we approach the idea that we need to find some ways to be able to survive the pandemic, we realize that as a county, Milwaukee County represents 60% of the deaths and 50% of the cases in the state of Wisconsin. If you stripped away the meat factories in the other parts of Wisconsin, we'd be a much higher percentage. But look, Milwaukee has been impacted in a tremendous way by the coronavirus.
Right.
What we need more than anything is something to look forward to again. We need to be able to say to ourselves, look, in 2024, we're going to have the DNC here. There's still, and by the way, let's hope it's in 2024, because I'll give you a prediction right now. 2024 is the last conventions that you'll ever see in a city in America. It ain't happening. There will never be conventions after that. They'll do them in some weird truncated way, but it ain't happening.
We heard it here first. DC Live, your prediction. We can always play back.
I hope to live that long, but look, I think it's things evolve. I mean, this is just a reality of reporters aren't typing next to the boxing ring on a typewriter anymore either. And I think that the evolution of these things says that we're going to find new ways to do them. I think they'll still involve large quantities of people. I just don't think it's the same format that has to continue on.
What do you think was really the driving factor? I know that now it's public that CNN canceled coming and using Turner Hall. I think they were going to be using that for something slotted as the CNN Grill, might have been called. But do you think that they canceled because they just don't expect the size to be what it might be and it's not needed, or any other reasoning, do you think?
Well, I won't pretend to speak for CNN, but I would suggest that you hit the nail on the head. The size and scope is not going to be there for them to officially have a CNN Grill anymore. I mean, there's a big battle going on right now because honestly, the Democratic Party is tremendously afraid of Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, of course, is threatening to drive the Titanic into North Carolina or something. I don't really know what it is, but sorry to be not politically correct in this conversation, but he's threatening them by saying he's going to have a full convention. So the Democrats are, at this point in time, they're choosing to make their decisions based upon what Donald Trump makes his decisions. And last time I checked, leaders lead, and somebody needs to lead in this situation. That would be a good idea.
Yeah, well, it's important news to all be aware of. Your insight is definitely valued and appreciated. There's so much happening with you guys, and I, again, am so grateful for this conversation. I want to make sure that all of our fun Facebook viewers and beyond check out pabsttheater.org. You can find everything there that you need, a way to get in touch with NIVA, the National Independent Venue Association, so that you can hashtag save our stages. And of course, Revive Live Milwaukee. Purchase your tickets, purchase your merchandise, and see all of the fun things that are up and coming. I know you're keeping people posted on your website too. There's a real simple place that you can see, what's been postponed, what's been canceled, what's been, what the rescheduled dates are too. Because I know, Gary, one thing is true. Everyone wants to get back to your venues and to see live performances and special events. So to you and Anne, my friends, I'm so grateful. You guys are definitely a bright spot in so many ways. And it's been fun to watch what you've been up to. And I can't wait to see both of you in person.
Well, thank you, David. And I will tell you that people should keep an eye out for some surprise announcements in the next couple of weeks, because I think we're not done finding new ways to do things in Milwaukee.
So, that was what we call a tease. Anything else you want to say, Gary?
No, we're super proud of what the things that we've been able to do in these 18 years. It's been wonderful, and we're feeling really positive that if we can find our way to make our way through the pandemic, as everybody is in this business, that we've got a lot more work to do and a lot more fun to be able to have. Milwaukee, the great thing about our city is that whatever it is that you do, you can play a role in changing it through your efforts. And I believe the most about that about our city is that we're allowed to be able to shape our city, and I'm thankful for that. I think very much that you have helped to shape our city, and I wonder if you and I were doing this in Chicago, or even Minneapolis. I don't know. I mean, but I know Milwaukee
Different.
that we have played a role in helping to shape the city, and really it's the people who use us, who participate in our business. They're the ones through their participation who actually shape our city. So I look forward to finding a way to survive this and hopefully doing things better in the future.
Awesome. I'm going to bring Ann in real quick just so we can all say goodbye before we get on to Pete's Pops. Hey, Ann, thank you so much for sticking by. I wanted
And
to
you're
say
blurry.
goodbye.
You're blurry.
Oh.
There you go.
Thanks for having me, David.
It's so good to see you. I can't wait to see both of you in person. Take care and be well, you guys.
Okay. Thanks very much, David. Thanks, Ann.
Bye. Okay, so up next, this is so cool. I am loving what is happening with the ever so famous Pete's Pops. And when I said that we were going to have Pete on, you guys were super excited. I got messages. So here we go. Pete himself is joining us on DC Live. There he is. Hey, Pete.
Hey, David. Hey, David, how's it going?
I am doing great. So great to see you right after Gary and Ann. Just a great lineup today. So thanks for being here. Where are we talking to you from? Your house?
This is my house, and you see my piece of popsicle art behind me.
That's when you know it's your real passion, when your house is
Well,
also a reflection of what you do.
yeah, when you have a popsicle business, you tend to get gifted lots of popsicle-related memorabilia and art. So my mom gave that to me a couple of years ago, and it's hanging up.
That's cool. Okay, first thing I want to know is how did this happen? How did Pete's Pops come to be?
Yeah, so I've loved food my whole life. It's been just one of my lifelong passions, and I also went to business school. And so, 6 years ago now, I had this idea, and I was 25, and I'm an accountant for my career. So I wanted to kind of have a creative outlet, and I started Pete's Pops. I thought it was going to work. I thought it had a shot. And 6 years later, we're still kind of pushing our carts around and doing our thing.
Wow, and it has been so much fun to watch this evolve. I have always been a fan. I live near Wauwatosa and often see the cart outside of Rocket Baby Bakery and grabbing my pops, and all kinds of great places to see you, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But people love what you do. And tell us a little bit about the mission of Pete's Pops. I read somewhere that you're all about spreading good vibes with each pop. Is that the mission in a nutshell?
I mean, in a lot of ways, yes. I mean, I think the popsicle itself, it's such a simple product, a fun product, a product that screams summertime, a product for everyone. And then, yeah, and so it's a lot of fun. When we sell popsicles, I always tell people when we hire them, that's the best part of the job. You're handing this little popsicle to someone, you get a smile right away, and it always just makes people happy. So, and I think a little of that spirit is built in. It was started as a side project, so we try not to take anything super seriously. And that is definitely the mission of the business, is just to spread pops and positivity wherever we go.
I love that. That is so cool. Pops and positivity.
Yeah.
What about the ingredients? Let me just say, you guys were kind enough to drop off my own box last night, and the box is already empty, and it was like almost immediately. I want to show people the box is so cool because when it arrived, they have what's in your 10-pack all written on the card there. And this is such a fun way. I wanted to let you know, Pete, that I did share, and I have some really cool, here's me getting the box, which was really fun.
Great.
The box is so cool. Loved it. And then we had our neighbors over last night and we shared the Pops with the kids,
Those are
Julian
cute.
and Naomi. But everybody, every age loves the Pops. And one of the things that I'm super intrigued by is tell us about the ingredients. They seem to be like super fresh and not a lot of extra sugar. What's happening?
Yeah, everything is made from fresh fruits. So we have fruit-based and we have cream-based, which are more ice cream bars. And so our fruit-based Pops come from fresh fruits. None of it's ever frozen until it's frozen into the popsicle form. We make flavored simple syrups in-house. And so we have over 10 different flavors of simple syrups. And you're exactly right. We don't try to add too much. We want to add a little bit to help the sweetness of the fruit come through, but we don't want it to be a syrupy, sugary pop. We like the fact that many of them are healthy. And then on the cream side, it's a custard base. So it's really like an ice cream bar. It's a really decadent custard base that those ones are not very healthy, but that's okay too.
Now, who comes up with the flavors? Like, I was so curious about looking on your website. Pete'sPops.net has so many cool listings of what the different available flavors are at any given time, but who comes up with them? They're super inventive.
Yeah, kind of from all over. I come up with some, our staff comes up with some. We certainly have customers that give us suggestions, and if it's a good suggestion, we'll run with it. We have over 80 flavors now. And so I think the website lists 35. We can't keep up with the new flavors we're making. And so we try to really make a new flavor every week. And we have our standard flavors that we make all the time, but it's a challenge for us to come up with new stuff. And we have customers that come to the store just looking to try whatever new that we've come up with that week. So it's certainly a ton of fun.
That is fun. Now tell us about the store, because I know that Vliet Street is really the main location, correct?
Correct. So we have a facility on Vliet Street, 38th and Vliet in the near west side, and that is where we produce everything. We also have a little walk-up window, and the beautiful mural you're showing is from artist Emma Daisy. And so we have storefront hours, and people can watch through the windows our staff making the Pops, which is a lot of fun. And then there's a little bar, people call it the Pop Bar. And it's just a fun, bright space. And yeah, I love it.
That's so cool. It's really cool to see. I definitely encourage people to stop by. Besides that location on Vliet Street, the carts are really super popular too. Where can people usually, well, the carts you can find and they're listed on your website. Is that the easiest way? I know social media, you guys post where the carts are at too.
Correct. So we move the carts around. Each year we try to find kind of standard spots that they return to. So the picture that you're showing right there is on 68th and North in Tosa. And that's kind of a regular spot. But our schedule with the carts is kind of, we move them around and we announce on social media. And we kind of like the fact that sometimes people are just walking by and they're surprised that we're out. We have 12 carts now that go all over Milwaukee and now Madison as well.
Wow, that's great. I love that you're expanding into Madison too. And I saw this the other day on Instagram, and I love this. This is a kid's birthday party where you guys provide the cart and the Pops, and I know you do weddings too, but tell us a little bit about your special events and how you do that with people and customers.
Yeah, I mean, it's been super fun. As we kind of adapt during this COVID timeframe, we've done already, I think, 10 drive-by and wave birthday parties. And so,
wow.
And really, it wasn't my idea. It was our customer's idea. We got email from someone saying, hey, we'd love to rent your cart for a drive-by and wave birthday party. And then the next week, we got another one. And I started to see it happen. And so yesterday, we posted that post saying, hey, think of us for your backyard barbecues, your drive-by and wave birthday parties, block parties, whatever people are going to be doing this summer, because there won't be as many events and street festivals and music festivals and things. And that post really resonated with a lot of people. We had a ton of orders come in. People, want to have a fun thing wherever they are going to be this summer.
That is such a cool thing for us to look forward to, and definitely people can reach you at petespops.net. I also love seeing, I know you guys have really been trying to help serve the community too. This is from Aurora Sinai Medical Center, a delivery that you dropped off there. I love this, Pete, spreading the joy.
Yeah, so we kind of have a motto to say yes to everything. So um, it gets us in trouble a little bit because we get pretty busy in the summer. But whenever someone asks for a donation or a special price for an event, we try to say yes every time. And so um, in the last couple of months, you see all these inspiring gifts to the frontline workers, and we wanted to participate in that as well. So we donated some on our own, but we also put a post up to our customers and saying, if anyone is willing to donate some funds to us, we will then donate product to as many frontline workers as possible. And we got quite a bit of donations. We have a little bank set up that every time we get a donation, we know that we can either discount our prices for frontline workers or give a free cooler of pops. So it's,
Wow.
I mean, everyone's doing it. You see the stuff that Tandem is doing, and everyone is coming together across the city and across the world, really, that we certainly want to be a part of that.
That's awesome. That's so great. And the other thing I wanted you to quickly touch on, and then we've got some breaking news. But before then, I was really impressed also by your packaging. So I started reading a little bit about it. And is everything in the package in terms of your wraps for the pops and also the box recyclable?
The box, certainly, the wrappers have been a long project. I've been working on that project for 2 years now. And so if people bring the wrappers back to our location, we are containing them and then having a special recycler come, because the plastic itself is recyclable. It's the fact that our systems don't recycle those kind of baggies. Like the system itself can't handle small units like that. It literally clogs up kind of the gears and everything. And so what we're doing this year, to the events that do happen, we are bringing a special box with us and asking customers to drop the bag back into the box. And then we're taking it back to our shop, and we have a receptacle there where we're going to contain all the wrappers we can. And then at the end of the year, have a special recycling system come in and recycle those. So I've talked to more packaging experts across the country than I ever thought I would. And it's kind of a tricky little problem, and we're not all the way there, but we've made some progress.
Wow, that's cool. Okay, now's the time. We're going to wrap up today's DC Live with some breaking news from Pete himself. What do you want to share for the first time today?
I like the lead up, David. So I gave you a little tip. No one knows this. We are opening a second location in Bayview, and we're hoping to be open within the next 10 days. We found a little spot, and we need to give it kind of a cosmetic spit shine this weekend. And we're going to try to make it bright and fun design-wise. And it's going to be a little walk-up window. And I'm going to withhold the location for now until it looks a little prettier. But we're really excited. We think, people this summer are going to be walking around with their families and their dogs. And we're going to have a dog-friendly walk-up window in the heart of Bayview.
Wow, that is so cool. So you are going to be in Bayview, a walk-up window for people and pups getting pops.
There's going to be pops available and all of our 80 flavors of popsicles, and we think it's going to be a good addition.
That is so cool. Well, I have to say, I am just so thrilled for you. I just have so much joy for you and feel proud of everything that you're doing. And I know that people not only think your pops are delicious, but they just love the passion and, genuine care and concern for not only our community, but your customers and the puppies too, and the communities that you pop up in with your carts and your locations and walk-ups. So this has been so much fun to watch you. And I love the popsicles. I can't wait this summer. Like you said, we're going to need something fun and uplifting to do. So I will be at the window.
Thank you, David. Those are really kind words. And the whole crew has a ton of fun bringing the pops and the positivity wherever we go. So it's been a blast, and we want to keep it going as long as we can.
Yes, absolutely. Pops and positivity. Hey, Pete, thanks so much. Enjoy the rest of your day. I really appreciate you joining me. And thanks again for the 10-pack. We loved it.
Of course. Thanks, David. Have a good day.
All right. You too. Take care.
Bye.
Wow, that was so much fun. Love talking with Gary and Ann and Pete. And find Pete and his pops in Bayview this summer. Location to be announced. So make sure you keep up with petespops.net and on social media. Follow our friends at the Pabst Theater Group. We just love them so much. And tomorrow on DC Live, tomorrow, this is another do not miss. Mr. Paul Bartolotta himself is joining me tomorrow at 2:00 p.m. Central Time, Events by DC on Facebook, just where you are tuning in today. So make sure that you are with me and Paul tomorrow. And the extra special treat tomorrow is Scratch Ice Cream. Yes, our friends Dustin and Justin from Scratch Ice Cream are going to be on DC Live, wrapping up the show on the next episode tomorrow, featuring Paul Bartolotta. So I will see you all then. Thank you again for watching. Olga, you're excited, and so am I. We'll see everybody tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye-bye.